Yeah, because you might know more about something than we do. That's probably true.
Okay, that's recording.
Uh-oh.
All right, 3, 2, 1. Hello, welcome to part 2 of 420 special.
That's why Han's wearing a green shirt.
Korean American Heritage Podcast. I'm here with Flip, and we have our special guest Jaeha from our past episodes. Welcome. Oh, is Jaeha frozen? He looks frozen. What happened? His internet connection just came out on it. He's literally frozen on the screen. At least it's a good shot of him smiling.
Does he know he's frozen? I wonder if I
Jaeha, you still with us? Jaeha? Can't hear you, buddy.
Oh, he's in trouble now.
Yes, technical difficulties.
No, I just got a screenshot of him.
Oh, he's got out. Okay. All right. We'll wait till he comes back. But yeah, still unconfirmed reports of Kim Jong Un brain dead. Not sure.
Oh, wait a minute. So it was from being
cardiovascular surgery, recovering.
Now he's brain dead?
To brain dead. I mean, that was the rumors that.
And then they said that it's not.
Now the rumors are not unfounded. That's what Yonhap says. South Korean, news is saying.
Okay. Yeah, because I heard it first. That's all I heard.
Yeah. Well, hopefully Jaeha could join us back.
Where'd he go? What did I do with this picture?
But yeah. So any special plans on 420?
Yeah. Me or is Jaeha back yet?
No, not yet.
No, I didn't do anything. I actually wrote a contract.
Oh, for your sister?
For me. For the.
Oh, okay, that's good.
I actually finished my responsibility for my contract with the what you call it, the
medical testing.
Yeah. So that's what I was doing. Okay, we'll try to save this again. Oh, I see where it is. Okay. What happened to him? He
sometimes it happens with
because there's the signal drops in his or something, or
or something like who knows.
Okay, well, we'll get him back one way or the other, like this. There he is.
You took a screenshot.
It's a good thing I'm old, because imagine if I was young and knew everything about computers. It'd really be terrorist, But for 420, I think it was last year or the year before, I was up in San Francisco giving a speech on 420. And San Francisco was just, there's people everywhere. There was this park where there must have been 30,000 people just smoking weed, selling products, and all dressed up. It was there was, I think it was last.
There he is. All right, Jaeha's now joining us.
He is.
Hey.
There he is. Was he frozen again?
The electricity just went off. So now I'm back.
Literally power out. Okay.
Yeah, no. I was just like, no. Like, it's at the moment it said like 3, 2, 1. I was like, bam.
Right. Bam.
I was like, what? I seriously had a moment of cognitive dissonance because the timing was just so perfect. I was like,
oh wow.
This kind of control over my electricity? Jesus Christ.
No, it'd be interesting if it's the
Korean. What is it behind?
Yeah, I mean,
What?
they don't want this podcast to happen, apparently.
What is that glowing orange thing behind you? What is a terrible thing that I see? Jeez.
That was the last picture of you that came on.
When it froze, I took a screenshot.
Yeah, that's the last picture of you.
The thing of nightmares.
Yeah, so we're just going over the unconfirmed reports of Kim Jong Un's medical condition. So, I mean, as a journalist, how do you go verifying these reports? Like,
well, one thing I can say for at least, as a journalist currently based in the U.S. is that I think a lot of even seasoned reporters are probably quite, they're not really in great. I would say they're not really well versed or well connected in nearly enough, especially with Korea-related news. So I mean, anyone with just a modicum of news judgment would say, all right, where's this coming from? And they probably realize that the news source isn't all that reliable, or that it's a little fishy, right? And actually, there is, among journalists, there's something called the smell test. That these are the 5 categories that you go through when you hear a piece of news like this is actually trustworthy. Right, but the thing is, actually, surprisingly, a lot of very seasoned journalists and not quite knowledgeable journalists actually get completely blindsided by something that is not domestic, especially something that is just out of their minds right now, right? So I think it's a good symptom of that people have just CNN have taken on this without really much critical assessment of what they're actually really reporting on.
Right.
Well, but it was released by the United States intelligence.
Right. So I mean, guess I'll have to take it in, but like, that's not.
I agree 100%. I mean,
that's not the same degree of skepticism it has consistently shown in other journalism that CNN has done. So,
but what's funny about CNN is they have their pool of experts, and they're experts about everything. I mean, and like you said, those guys don't know hardly anything about Korea. And during the crisis with Kim Jong Un, they were, this, that, and the other, blah, blah, this, and just going, where do these people learn this stuff? And then some of the experts they got on, like I'm working on this antibody test, getting it here from China. And you know who Drew Griffin is at CNN? He's a field reporter. So he's in charge of the research on what's going on with the testing. So I emailed him. I don't know if he ever got it, but he probably said, "Oh, this doesn't pass the smell test." And then I emailed. I don't have Twitter, and so I should have tweeted, I guess, but I'm not going to do it just for this. Yamiche Alcindor from PBS. I emailed her as well, and it didn't pass the smell test. And then my mom's got a show coming out on PBS, so I asked the PBS line director if she knew her in the newsroom, and she said no. And so I just gave up. I mean, I have this all documented. I tried to tell the people the truth, but I just didn't go about it the right way. But yeah, most of these people are, I don't know.
No, I mean,
have you heard anything or looked up anything online? Like,
me? No, I mean, well, see, that's the thing, though. I mean, I haven't. The first thing that I saw was it was a push alert from, I think, the New York Times, or I forget, saying that reports from the U.S. intelligence agent, intelligence that Kim Jong Un is in critical condition after surgery, and the thing is, I mean, I looked in, and there was really not much substance in that, because that's all they got, right? It wasn't a full-fledged article. It was just a piece of information that they got that probably needed further vetting and verification to actually. Well, see, that's the problem, though, is that it has a huge amount of impact. Just the fact that Kim Jong Un is in critical condition has repercussions globally. But I mean, not to wholesale dismiss dismiss the benefits of modern news cycles. I think one of the big problems is when you actually get things like these is that they have the production cycle urges even quite reputable news site sources to release fragments of information that probably could have been much more verified and vetted and actually become a full-fledged news report, but they wouldn't do that. They would just say, "Oh, this is the information that we got. This is a soundbite. All right, let's put it on air." Right? Because we can just say, "Oh, we got it from some intelligence. I mean, most likely they don't probably have to even say, issue a correction, because they just say, oh, this is what we got, and this is the information that we released at the time.
They what was odd today too is that in the North Korean press was they're admitting to the first case of coronavirus. And then what's also been in the North Korean news recently is I don't know if you call it empowerment or the next phase of his sister becoming the leader or having more power. So I don't know if everybody's reading things into that, like, oh yeah, if his sister's going to take over, he must really be sick. He didn't make it to his dad's Day of the Sun birthday, or not his grandfather's birthday, but he's missed those before.
Right. No. Look, I will believe just when he's dead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when the North Korean broadcaster is crying and be
exactly. When she puts on a black dress, we'll talk.
기대하는 국민 여러분. Right, that's
우리
when
기대하는 김정은 동지께서.
Exactly. When
I see that, all right, then I'll believe it.
Yes.
All right, now he's toast. But before that, I'll be skeptical. I'll reserve, any judgment. I mean, any.
Well, I hate to say it, especially if it's coming from the white people. Oh man,
they have tricked us before, time and time again.
It's crazy being Asian these days with the coronavirus thing. That's why I grew my mustache so I look more Hispanic.
No, and actually, funny enough, is I got this interesting perspective I got from a fellow journalist who's an AAJA, who's not East Asian. He's a Filipino. So he's Asian, but he's not.
He's a Pacific Islander.
Exactly. He's not, quote unquote, what he would consider conventionally, quote unquote, Asian. Yeah. At least, in American standards. And he was like, it's ironic for him because he actually, now East Asians are becoming targets of hate crimes and racism and xenophobia and all the worst things that really anyone can really express. The thing is, quite ironically, he's kind of exempt from that because he doesn't really look conventionally Asian. Which gives him perspective because within the Asian American community, or even the Asian community quite worldwide, there is an internalized racism that happened among Asians. Right? I mean, especially now.
Koreans are the most racist of all. Yeah, I mean,
it's
xenophobic.
And in America, there's another layer added because of the whole model minority myth associated with East Asians.
Right.
And he said it's still horrific. But what he said was that it's interesting that this isn't, people are reacting, certain East Asians are reacting as if like, oh, this is awful, we haven't expected this. But what he's saying is, no, this is a symptom. This isn't something new that's all of a sudden we're confronting with. This is a symptom of a long problem of how East Asians have positioned themselves within the American fabric. And actually, he was actually referring to the recent tweets, not even recent now, by Andrew Yang, how he said that, in face of all these hate that we're seeing, we should be more American. Which I think was, I have my qualms with Andrew Yang, but that's the biggest problem, is that he basically says that our way of melding is to further reinforce our model minority myth.
My take on that is he has no idea of my family's history.
That's the thing.
At a point, the Asian American people that were born here, were integrated, and there was still racism, but we were more integrated into society.
Right.
And a lot of people had social success. Almost everybody in the Korean community, except for certain people that had depression, alcohol issues and that, but, made it like as a citizen, and then things changed. But I didn't agree with everything he said, because nobody's really American anymore, I don't think. It's a whole set of values. Globalization has changed, and it's like people in other countries are changing too, but America is just a weird spot because it's such a big melting.
No, I think he just completely bypassed the complex identities of being Asian American, right? I mean, he's just thinking that, oh, let's just reinforce the East Asian minority myth that we have, rather than confronting quite the long and complex histories of Asian, what being Asian American is actually being is like.
The other thing is too is like a lot of the doctors that are in New York are Korean and Chinese. And I was hearing that some of the patients, that were not of color, that were in other places too, that were having to be treated by an Asian during this thing weren't happy about it, which is so stupid.
Well, knowing New Yorkers, yeah, they're pretty assholes about things, but interesting.
And that PBS show, it's kind of timely, but it's weird because it's 2020, the census. This is based on some stuff about the 2010 census, and they were trying to define how much Asians are a part of the American society. But I think that this has really probably had this happened, they would have rewritten the script, because the Asian racism has been against Asians has just been kind of under the radar a little bit as far as publicized. I mean, what was it? Was it because of the nuclear stuff that Kim Jong Un was doing? I remember about 2 years ago that lady got beat up in Koreatown and people were having hassles on
that's right.
and stuff. I can't remember exactly, but yeah, so we went through this kind of recently, or not me, I mean half of me did, but it was kind of revving up before, and it was against Koreans more than anything. But now it's just the blanket, like the Filipino guy is kind of getting swept up in it, kind of, but yeah, it's bad. It's really bad.
I mean, I think one thing that I think we can all agree on is that this has, in a way, been a litmus paper for a lot of the social ills of America, right? It has exposed things that Americans thought that they were kind of over with. That they're like, oh, this is just some old, 20th century shit that we as a civilized country are over, but that's clearly not.
Well, the other thing is how unprepared,
Yeah, exactly.
Because like I was talking to Han before, like what happens if this was a nuclear or chemical warfare, from an actual attack? I mean, people are voluntarily going into the hospital and go to the markets and stuff, but can you imagine, people being bombed? I mean, it'd be it. I think people probably now realize how weak America really is, which is scary.
No, it's the how should I say this? Right. Like, it's weird because as a non-American, I have American friends who are genuinely getting this for the first time in their entire life, saying that, oh, America isn't a great country.
Yeah.
Like, sure, they understood it in an abstract concept that America isn't like a just country, but in mind, they unironically believed in the greatness of America, in all its entirety.
Well, I think partially that has to do with who the president is right now while they're here, because Obama wasn't the greatest, but, in 2008, we were in a recession and, he rebuilt that. He had to deal with the Ebola thing. So somebody reacted closer to how they should. But yeah, I mean, America is not the big power that it used to be, and it never will be again, I don't think.
No, I mean, it's just
I mean, that's why people still come to America, because that kind of ideal that you're talking about, it's disappeared.
I mean, but we do still have free speech, freedom of religion, and the Constitution. But
well, they certainly didn't work out very well lately.
Well, the liberate. Oh God.
But look what's going on with was it Hong Kong democracy fighters are being arrested just because under the pretense of COVID-19 in Hong Kong. And these are like known like freedom advocates in Hong Kong. And so they already picked them up just off the streets. Actually, this past week, apparently. And in the States, we have people who are very ignorant, but then they're able to protest. And they don't have to worry about getting arrested because of their... I mean, they should get arrested for breaking quarantine, but then that's a health issue, you know? But
right.
Yeah. That's kind of where I stand in regards to this is still a great country in regards to, you know, seeking, you know, freedom, and we should be fighting for that liberal idea in regards to freedom. I mean,
what I meant that isn't that, you know, America isn't a great country. I mean,
I wasn't implying that.
You know, there isn't. I think there isn't. Not to like rebut you, but what I'm saying is that first of all, I don't believe in the whole dichotomy of a great nation and a not great nation. I think every country has some degree of greatness and not so greatness about them. And the thing is, I think this is the first time when you realize there is a fundamental kind of reconsideration or dissection of what it means to be America as a country, in its infrastructure, in its values, in its government, in its governance, and in its priorities, and in its value systems, right? You know, because there are some Americans right now quite actively, you know, weighing between is my right as a citizen of, you know, expression and assembly more important to the right of, you know, public safety and health. That there is a debate, right? In which some countries, like for example, like China, they wouldn't even bat an eye. They're like, no, this is not happening. Of course, you're staying indoors, or else, you know, you're gonna get it, right? In a way, I could almost say that at least America has the ability to actually have that moment of self-thought and self-reflection and say, well, hold on, yeah. So what is it like to be America living, you know, to be an American living in America, right? This is that moment.
A lot of it's changed though, because, you know, there were the times. I mean, there was Kent State when the National Guard shot Vietnam demonstrators.
Right, but
there were all the black people that got the hell beat out of them. You know, so we've gone through that, and somehow along the way, the people that run the society now figured out that kind of approach wasn't right. You know, and you know, me being a product of a Catholic military academy, you know, I'm one that think a lot of people need to be punished, you know, for stuff they do.
You know, but Catholic. They
don't. And feel guilty about it. That's what it is. Punishment, guilt.
It's you know,
that's a perpetual Catholic mindset.
You know,
I agree.
And so you know, it's like with these people that can't handle the lockdown, you know, and they're starting to demonstrate. It's only been a few weeks, you know, and then, like I was telling Han, you know, where are those people's respect for the healthcare workers? You know, because these guys have been so beat up, and maybe they're right, maybe this thing is over, but I don't think so. If they spike this thing again somewhere, it's really not fair. So when you talk about rights, I mean, I would think that the guy in the hospital that's going to save my life has more rights than the idiot on the beach that wants to, you know, go to the bar or that kind of a thing. So, but that's what America is, you know, and other countries, you know, like we were talking with the Daegu church. One of the reasons the South Koreans handled this so quickly is because the Korean CIA knew the address of almost everybody in that church, and so they went and tracked them down, you know. So but they did a really good job. But also, as I told Han, and I think, you know, I mean, when they did the MERS thing, they really messed that up, you know. So they were ready, where America wasn't. You know, America's never really dealt with anything like this, and it happened so quickly, you know. So but did you get your sign? the meeting should be updated or we're done in a couple minutes?
No. There's a sign like that?
I don't know. Maybe it's me. I didn't start it.
I got that it's upgraded to like premium and has unlimited hours. That's what I got.
Oh, okay. Then, oh well.
Well, anyway, Jaeha will be leaving at has a meeting at 10, so I'm keeping track of time. So.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
But no, it's really an interesting time because the whole world is going through. I mean, look what happened to Europe. China got hit hard, but there's stuff that happens over there that we never hear. Isn't that right?
Well, yeah. I mean, I can go into all the problems.
Yeah, I don't know if you could go into it. I mean, you still got to go back to that country now.
Well, not the foreseeable future. I'm not.
But your family's still there, right? I mean,
they are.
Yeah,
so it's weird.
So be careful. We don't want you to.
No, I mean, first of all, I can't go back because the moment I go back, I can't come back. Well, actually, funny enough, so this is interesting. I can't go back because China has canceled all foreign visas. Anyone who has applied for a foreign visa after March 28th, they all canceled. So basically, any foreigners who are living in China right now, sure they could stay, but they can't. Sure they can go out, but they surely can't come back. And any foreigners who want to come to China, they cannot. The thing is, my parents have been there ever since early February, so they're fine. And they happen to be in Beijing, which is probably Beijing. Believe me, it's a city of its own. I would say it's above China because if there's one place in China that the Communist Party wants to be just completely safe, to be zone 1, that's probably Beijing. It's literally a forbidden city. They have blocked all passageways into Beijing, to the point that even if you are living in China and you are a Chinese national and you want to enter Beijing, you have to go through a 14-day period of self-quarantine to enter Beijing. So I'm not worried about my well-being of my parents. But it is interesting that, at least from what I hear, that where was I going with this? That they're kind of having a reassessment of their own, but in a very Chinese way. But I can go into that. But
anyway. We'll do another podcast.
Yeah, that's on another day. That's a whole new can of worms that I want to open.
That Anastasia Lin, that's in Canada. That was at the debate about. Man, she laid into China big time the other day. Did you see that video?
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, it was amazing what because I think she lives in Canada now, and it was a debate. It was they're all in formal clothes, but she was wearing this evening gown. The guys were wearing tuxedos, and it was pretty, kind of looked very English, civilized kind of a thing. But she talked about all kinds of stuff leading up to the coronavirus at the end. But she, I guess she grew up there. She still has family there. They moved to Taiwan, and then she went to Canada. But I guess she doesn't plan on going back. But she had a pretty.
In your opinion, Jaeha, do you see a war going on with China and the United States?
Quite literally,
quite literally, war? Yeah.
Oof. I mean, I cannot say. I genuinely cannot say because I want to believe that they are pragmatists in Washington. And I'm sure they are pragmatists in Washington and in Beijing. But the sheer uncertainty of history in the past 4 months, I cannot for the life of me guarantee anything. Will that all happen or will not happen?
Right.
And I've seen plenty of other journalists who have said similar statements and have made complete fool of themselves, especially since 2016. So
I don't think it'll happen right now. Under this pandemic, I don't think, some people think that, well, everything's, a mess. It's time to attack. But I think everything's a mess for everybody.
No, and if anything, I can say this much. War takes a lot of organization and pre-planning, at least, if you want to win a war. And the sheer incompetence and the sheer amount of work that our overwhelmed that are overwhelming, global governments, they're probably not that well prepared to actually go into war.
They have a lot of more toys now, but also,
and oil's super cheap.
Nope. Yeah. Nope.
Negative.
That's the thing. To change it up is war. To up that demand. It's just like boom. All right. That's
the thing too.
That's the thing where it's just like there's someone there like the thing to change this is let's just declare war and oil demand will go up, so the price would
Well, that's the thing though. I mean, history has shown us the one thing that revives an economy is war. It's.
Well, they were trying to do that already, though. I mean, every deal that Trump made was based on military sales of equipment to Japan, to Korea.
Right. So this is,
But the thing is, though, is you're talking about, China may not being prepared. And I mean, the last couple of big boating accidents the United States has been the intelligence boats and the EC slamming into each other. Remember that?
Yeah.
And then. One of the big aircraft carriers down there, they all got the virus. So it's like, one time America was, I come from a military family, this military is not as tight as people, they have the technology, but, it's a volunteer army, but that doesn't mean it's an intelligent army.
So at least all directions point that there shouldn't be a war, and there probably won't be a war, but there just might be an if.
One of the Chinese people was telling me that the president of China was telling North Korea to launch the rockets recently, just to mess with them.
Well, I'm sure
at North the elections is that
everything, the virus, the elections, just.
I'm sure. North Korea's little, their little framework of domestic policy has been, the final step is basically ask China. And before that was ask the Soviet Union and China. Now it's just China. That framework has not changed. So I wouldn't be surprised.
I'm sure it comes with some kind of carrot, okay,
of course.
Missile, I'll give you X amount of $1 million or bags of rice or something,
That game has been going on for decades. Yeah. They're very good at it. And I'm pretty sure that, the 6 countries, they probably have a general idea of what's happening, even though they act all surprised and and offended. There probably was some mutual understanding that they've been playing this game for 60 years. I wouldn't put it past them.
Longer than that.
Yeah, no, actually longer. So
late 1800s, with the China-Russia, the China-Japan war and Korea.
All right, it's a 3-minute warning. I'm going to give Jaeha some time so he can prep for his next meeting.
Yeah, Jaeha, we'll have to do this again.
Yeah, I want to hear your thoughts on the South Korean elections as well.
That's
the Zoom works out pretty well as long as you have power.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Just while you're there, where's Chuck Ree? Is he still in town?
I think he's still in Claremont. I've talked to him last week. I haven't called him ever since, but maybe we'll invite him. Oh God,
that'd be cool. Yeah, that could work for. Yeah.
Oh God, it's like just a weird moment. I feel like I'm like an Andy Warhol painting or something. Of the Prince. This is the original, the second. What you have there, Flip, is a cheap copy.
All right. Well, Jaeha, thanks again for joining the Korean American Heritage Podcast. Always welcome, and we look forward to having you back. So
happy 420.
Yeah,
happy 420, everyone. Always a pleasure talking to you, Han.
All right. See ya.
Happy 420, Flip. All right. Take care.
See you later. Bye.